I still remember that rainy Tuesday morning when my world came crashing down. After 8 years of marriage, I returned home from my night shift at the local diner to find the locks changed and my belongings stuffed into garbage bags on the front porch. My hands trembled as I fumbled for my phone, dialing my husband, David, only to be met with his cold, detached voice. "It's over, Sarah. I've moved on. Don't try to come back." Rain soaked through my waitress uniform as I stared at the house we had built together. No, the house I had bought. My inheritance from my grandfather had covered the down payment, but David had insisted his name go on the paperwork. He'd assured me it was just easier that way, given his credit score. I had trusted him, completely. My phone buzzed again, a notification from our joint bank account. Balance, $0. My separate account? Also emptied. 8 years of savings, gone. Because I trusted him, because I believed in our marriage. I didn't know then that this was just the beginning. With nowhere else to go, I loaded what little I could into my battered Honda Civic, the only thing still in my name, and drove to my mother-in-law Patricia's house. Maybe this was a misunderstanding. Maybe she could help me make sense of it all. I should have known better. Patricia opened the door, her signature pearl necklace perfectly in place, her expression a careful mask of disdain. Behind her, David's sister, Amanda, leaned against the staircase, arms crossed, smirking. "Well," Patricia drawled, her eyes flicking over my rain-drenched appearance, "I suppose you're here to beg for money now that David's finally come to his senses." My throat tightened. "Patricia, please, I don't understand. The house, our savings, everything is gone." "Oh, sweetheart," she laughed, a cruel, hollow sound. "Did you really think someone like David would stay with a waitress forever? He's finally moving up in the world. He needs someone more suitable." She adjusted her diamond bracelet. "Though, I must say, you lasted longer than I expected. Most gold diggers don't have that kind of patience." I flinched. "Gold digger?" My voice cracked. "I paid for that house. I worked double shifts to support him through his MBA. With your grandfather's money," Amanda interjected, rolling her eyes. "And you've been holding it over David's head for years. Well, now he's paid you back. Guess you'll have to find another old man to mooch off of." The rain mixed with my tears as memories flashed through my mind, holidays spent biting my tongue while they mocked my job, the way they dismissed my sacrifices, the veiled condescension every time I walked into this house. "Where is he?" I asked, my voice steadier now. Patricia smiled, slow and satisfied. "On his honeymoon." The world tilted. "Honeymoon? With Jessica. You remember her, don't you?" Patricia's eyes glittered with amusement. "His new executive assistant. They've been seeing each other for months. She comes from a good family. You know, she'll be much better for David's career than you ever were." Jessica. The woman he had hired 6 months ago. The one he'd insisted on working late with. The one who had smiled sweetly at me at the company Christmas party, while sleeping with my husband. "You knew," I whispered, looking between Patricia and Amanda. "You all knew." "Of course we knew," Amanda said, exasperated. "We helped him plan everything. Jessica's father is on the board of David's company. This marriage will do wonders for his career, unlike you, with your little waitressing job." Patricia reached for the door. "Now, I suggest you leave before I call the police. And don't bother fighting this in court. Our family lawyer has everything handled. You signed a prenup, remember? You get nothing." The door slammed in my face. That night, I slept in my car in a Walmart parking lot, too numb to even cry. The next day, I tried to check into a motel, only to find my credit cards canceled. Then my phone stopped working. Apparently, it had been on David's plan. Within 48 hours, I had nothing but my car, a handful of garbage bags, and $237 in cash. I managed to find a bed at the local women's shelter. The irony wasn't lost on me. I had volunteered there for years, never imagining I'd one day need its help. The shelter director, Grace, remembered me. She gave me a private room, usually reserved for emergency cases. "You're in shock, Sarah," she said gently, placing a cup of tea in my hands. "But you're stronger than you know, and when you're ready, we'll help you fight back." I didn't believe her. How could I fight back? David had planned everything, stripped me of everything. He had his family's money. their lawyers, their connections. I was just a waitress with a useless social work degree and a shattered life. But Grace was right about one thing. I was in shock. And because of that, I almost missed the detail that would change everything. It happened 3 days later. I was in the shelter's kitchen, cooking to repay their kindness, when I heard hushed voices from the front office. The CEO of Montgomery Industries is here. What's Alexander Montgomery doing at our shelter? I heard he's doing surprise visits to local charities. The pot nearly slipped from my hands. Montgomery Industries. David's company. The one where he had clawed his way up to middle management, always complaining that he deserved faster promotions, more recognition. I had never met anyone from his workplace, he always said I wouldn't fit in. But now, the CEO himself was here. And I had no idea that this moment would change everything. Everyone in town knew about Alexander Montgomery, the visionary CEO who had taken his father's company and turned it into a tech powerhouse, the man who put our small city on the map, the businessman who, if the rumors were true, had no tolerance for dishonesty within his ranks. I was still debating whether to disappear into the kitchen when Grace burst in. Sarah, Mr. Montgomery wants to speak with all the residents. He's making a significant donation and wants to hear their stories firsthand. Would you be comfortable joining? I glanced down at my shelter-issued clothes, touched my unwashed hair. I don't know, Grace. I'm not exactly presentable. Nonsense. Her tone left no room for argument. You're one of us now. Your story deserves to be heard. And that's how I found myself sitting in a circle with 15 other women, facing Alexander Montgomery himself. He wasn't what I expected, no expensive suit, no air of arrogance, just a man in his mid-30s, dressed simply in a button-down and slacks, listening intently. He asked thoughtful questions, took notes, never interrupted. Then it was my turn. I'm Sarah, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. I'm here because my husband drained our accounts and changed the locks while I was at work. I hesitated, then forced myself to continue. He works for your company. Montgomery's pen stilled, his gaze snapped up, locking onto mine. What did you say? I couldn't stop now. The story poured out: 8 years of marriage, supporting David through his MBA, using my inheritance to buy our house. Then, his affair, his betrayal, his family's cold dismissal of me. His name is David Chen. I finished, my throat tight. Middle management. He just married Jessica Williams. Her father is on your board. A heavy silence settled over the room. Montgomery's expression didn't change, but something in his eyes sharpened. David Chen, he repeated, voice measured. The one lobbying for a senior director position? The one who claims his wife has been his greatest supporter? I let out a bitter laugh. Supporter? I didn't even know I was being replaced until I found my belongings in garbage bags. Montgomery stood abruptly. Grace, may I use your office? Miss Miller and I need a private conversation. It's Miller now, I corrected softly. I'm going back to my maiden name. Something flickered in his expression, approval. Maybe, he nodded. Miss Miller, then, please. As I followed him down the hall, I had no idea this conversation would change everything. That in 24 hours, David's carefully constructed life would begin to unravel. And it would all start with 5 simple words from Alexander Montgomery. I've been looking for you. The best revenge. Sometimes, life's greatest betrayals lead us exactly where we're meant to be. It was his original work, David had claimed, his golden ticket to the senior director position. Jessica's father had been his biggest supporter. A bitter laugh escaped me. So that's why he chose now to leave. He had finally found a way to use my work for his own gain. Miss Miller, Sarah. Alexander leaned forward, his gaze steady. I'd like to offer you a job. Director of our new Community Impact Division. Your proposal will be its foundation, but you'll have full resources to expand it. Starting salary, $250,000 plus benefits and stock options. I stared at him, convinced I had misheard. But I'm just a waitress. No, he said firmly. You're a brilliant strategist who's been systematically undermined by an insecure man. That ends today. He pulled out his phone. With your permission, I'd like to call our legal team. David Chin committed corporate fraud by stealing and misrepresenting your work. That's grounds for immediate termination. My head spun. But, his new wife, her father. Board member or not, fraud is fraud. And something tells me Mr. Williams won't be so supportive once he learns the truth about his new son-in-law. Everything unraveled for David after that. By morning, the truth about his fraud had spread. He was fired, publicly, his corporate accounts frozen. Jessica's father, mortified by the scandal, annulled their marriage. I wasn't there when it happened, but Amanda later told me. David and Jessica had returned from their honeymoon to find their keycards deactivated. Security was waiting. "How dare you?" David had shouted at Alexander in the lobby. "Do you know who my father-in-law is?" Alexander corrected smoothly. "The marriage has been annulled. And Mr. Williams sends his regards, along with a suggestion that you seek employment far, far away from this industry." That's when David saw me. Standing beside Alexander, dressed in a designer suit, a gift from the company stylist. His face drained of color. "Sarah, what are you doing here?" I met his gaze, steady, unshaken. "Taking back what's mine," I said. "The proposal you stole? It's being implemented. The career you tried to destroy? It's thriving. The woman you discarded? She's your new boss's right hand." Patricia and Amanda scrambled for damage control. Of course. The tearful voicemails about family loyalty, the sudden desire to reconnect. But I had found a new family. The incredible team at Montgomery Industries, where my ideas were valued. The women's shelter I once called home, now the pilot location for our first community resource center. Grace joined as program director. Within a year, we opened 10 more centers across the state. And David? Last I heard, he was a junior analyst in a small firm 3 states away. Jessica remarried, this time, a wealthy developer. And Patricia? Well, she never stopped complaining that her new daughter-in-law had married down. As for me? That's another story. One that began with late nights spent refining proposals with Alexander. Strategy sessions that turned into dinner conversations. Meetings that lingered long after business had concluded. One evening, as the sun set outside his office window, he said quietly, "I'm not him. I'll never try to dim your light." "I know," I replied. Because I did know. I had learned the difference between someone who wants to possess you and someone who wants to see you soar. 2 years after the day my world fell apart, I stood in a grand ballroom at Montgomery Industries headquarters. Hundreds of employees and community members had gathered to celebrate the launch of our 15th resource center. And now, the MC announced, "Please welcome our Community Impact Director and newest board member, Mrs. Sarah Montgomery." As I took the podium, my wedding ring caught the light. Nothing flashy. Alexander knew I preferred elegant simplicity. In the crowd, I spotted Patricia. She had wrangled an invitation through a business contact, no doubt hoping to reconcile now that I had married up. But I wasn't the woman she had dismissed in the rain. Meeting her eyes, I smiled. And began my speech. 5 years ago, I wrote a proposal about the power of community support, about how everyone deserves a chance to rebuild, to grow, to shine. Today, we're not just opening another center, we're making that vision reality. I paused, resting a hand on my slightly rounded belly. Our first child. Still a secret for a few more weeks. Sometimes, life's greatest betrayals lead us exactly where we're meant to be. Sometimes, losing everything makes room for everything you've ever dreamed of. And sometimes, the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's living your truth so boldly that those who tried to break you become nothing but a footnote in your success story. Alexander squeezed my hand as the room erupted in applause. And in that moment, I sent a silent thank you to David. His cruelty had freed me. His betrayal had led me here. I had lost a husband who dimmed my light. But I found a partner who helped me shine. I had lost a family that valued status. But I had built one based on love and respect. Most importantly, I had found myself. The woman who had always been there. Waiting to emerge. Strong, capable, unstoppable. That night, as Alexander and I drove home to our cozy house, We could afford bigger, but I loved this one's garden. He asked, any regrets? I touched my growing belly. Thought of our expanding centers, our passionate team, our future together. Just one, I said with a smirk. I should have checked the company submission portal years ago. He laughed, the sound warm in the quiet car. Everything happened exactly when it was supposed to. And you know what? He was right. Because sometimes, life's greatest blessings come disguised as its cruelest endings. And sometimes, the best revenge is a life well lived.